everybody, it's Justin Adkins, and I'm so excited to be on the Scrapbooking Cards Today YouTube channel with a fun Easter shaker card tutorial to share with you. I'm going to be using the Cottontail Pattern Paper Pad by scrapbook.com and the Follow That Bunny stamp set by Picket Fence Studios. For this card, I'm going to pull in two different patterns from the Cottontail Pattern Paper collection, but it's actually just one of the sheets double-sided. I'll be using two of them just because I want to make sure to utilize as much as I can, but I'm going to be using this green floral print and this wavy green grass print. To make sure I'm cutting them perfectly, I'm going to pull in the Stitched Rectangle Set 1 from Picket Fence Studios using the largest rectangle to die cut two stitched rectangle shapes. This is going to make sure that my card front pieces are perfectly A2 sized for later on in the project. Once cut to size, I'm going to use two different paper splatters by Picket Fence Studios, starting with the opaque white. I'm going to put it down onto an acrylic block and then use a clean watercolor brush to splatter onto my project. Using a clean brush is super important because you're not going to get any sort of cross-contamination of colors. Once I'm happy with getting my white splatters onto my project, I'm then going to go ahead and move on to using my next color, which is going to be the pale opaque lavender color. And this is going to add some fun purple splatters to our card because I always think that purple really helps bring that spring feel to a project. Here you can get a closer look as to what all of those paper splatters look like on our pattern paper. So once I have all of that situated, it's now time to work on our shaker window. So I'm going to be using the Happy Easter word dies by Picket Fence Studios and using the outline of the word die as the window for our shaker element. So once I have it nicely in spot, I'm going to use some 1-inch mint tape to tack the die onto my panel and die cut the window out. Now to die cut my actual sentiment, I'm going to use the classic glossy cardstock by scrapbook.com, and I'm going to use this glossy white paper to cut out our Happy Easter sentiment. I had a piece of scrap paper in the pad already, so I'm going to utilize that scrap, tack down my Happy Easter die, and cut out the Happy Easter sentiment. Now let's get to constructing our shaker element. Using some acetate by Lawn Fawn, I am going to hand cut a piece of clear acetate so that it will cover the back of my shaker window. So I'm just making sure that I've cut it to size, and then on the back portion of my panel, I'm going to use some liquid adhesive to outline the area that I'm going to need to adhere my acetate window to. I like to use clear acetate whenever possible for my shaker window because it really just gives the best look at your shaker elements. So I'm going to use my hands pushing the window into place and then flipping the panel over. I do end up putting a large acrylic block on top of it just to add some even pressure. Once my shaker window is set nicely, I'm going to use some liquid adhesive on the back side of my Happy Easter sentiment die cut, and then we will go ahead and place this onto our shaker window once we have all of it glued properly. I do end up pulling in an oversized acrylic block once again just to apply a solid even pressure onto my sentiment so that it adheres nicely to our shaker window. Off camera, I do stamp a handful of images from the Follow That Bunny stamp set by Picket Fence Studios and color them up with my Copic markers. You can see those marker combinations below in the description. Since I have all of my bunnies colored up, it's now time to adhere them to my card front so that they're ready to go for the project. I did end up coloring a bunch of different images from the stamp set. I believe I colored up every single image at least once, all of the eggs at least 2 or 3 times, and then multiple tufts of grass as well. I think the long tufts of grass is the only image that I did not use, but I wanted to just have this card just entirely littered with these cute bunnies included in the stamp set, but also so that I arranged them in a way that they didn't interfere with my Happy Easter shaker element. When placing my different eggs into place, I try to not double up on colors close to each other, you can see I'm kind of systematic in terms of I don't end up putting two orange next to each other. I try to keep everything nicely spaced so that you can see color throughout the card fairly evenly. You will also see with the marker descriptions below that any of the colors you see on here were used multiple times to create a continuity. For example, the little bunny balloon is yellow and purple. That yellow and purple coloring, you're also going to find that in the eggs that I colored up. We've got a nice blue cart. You're going to see that same blue color in the blue eggs. You're going to see some of the bunnies have bows on them for the chocolate bunnies, and the egg colors are the same for the corresponding colors. So this just makes everything match up really nicely and keep the whole card sort of continuous with the color scheme. I also really enjoy using the little grass pieces as well because I think it adds a nice little scene building element to this card, like these elements are really being found nestled in the grass. So once I have all of my elements into place, I can then move on to the next step of our project, and that's actually to create that full shaker element on the back of the card. So I'm going to flip my panel over and I'm going to use 1/8 of an inch foam tape. This is by iCraft or ThermoWeb, and I'm going to use this to create sort of I would call it a window well of sorts, outlining the die cut of Happy Easter. I'm being really careful that you cannot see this foam tape on the other side of the card, so none of it's going to be peeking through, but I'm using the foam tape to sort of create a well that is going to hold all of my shaker elements. I'm going to be able to pour them directly into that center portion. I am going to pull in the Easter Time Sequin Mix Plus by Picket Fence Studios for the embellishments inside of my shaker card. I'm just using my fingers to sort of pinch some of the elements into that center well, and then just making sure to clean up any that may fall outside of it. Once I'm satisfied with the amount of pieces, I end up putting more of this 1/8 of an inch foam tape around my card, particularly on the edges of the card so it could be used as a support once I adhere it to my backing piece. This is going to just make my card sort of firm and really give that nice sturdy element when you are going ahead and finishing it up. I remove the backing of my foam tape, and then after my foam tape backing is removed, I actually end up putting a little bit of liquid adhesive onto the foam as well to give me a little bit of extra time to work with when I put the backing piece on, that it doesn't latch on right away. So I'm putting that backing piece over my foam tape carefully so that it covers it as exactly as I can get it, and then I just use my fingers to push everything nicely into place so that I get a nice adhering of the pieces. So as you will see when I flip the panel over, I've got my front panel of my card basically ready to go. There's not going to be too much left that we're going to need to do aside from a little bit of embellishment and also getting it onto a card base itself. Now, I do like to put my panel onto a card base before I start adding embellishments, and that's because I feel that sometimes that the embellishments can come off easily. I like to make sure to do that last. So here you see me putting my card onto an A2 sized card piece, and I'm going to pull in that Easter Time Sequin Mix Plus by Picket Fence Studios once again to use these sequins as embellishment on the outside of our card. This is a really easy way to show some more continuity with using the same embellishments that we used inside of our shaker element now on the outside of the card, just to add a little bit of detail. With my embellishments all into place, our Easter shaker card is all completed. I just adore how this turned out, and I think all of these little elements work so perfectly with one another. I know whoever receives this card for the holiday won't help but have a huge smile on their face. Thank you so much for stopping by the Scrapbook and Cards Today YouTube channel for some Easter inspiration. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also find me on Instagram and YouTube as well at Just a Note by Justin. Thanks once again for stopping by, and I wish you a super happy day. Goodbye.